just.
And we are back with You Can Slay That Again. This is episode 29. I'm so excited. We've got Lloyd James Ross, who is a property investment advisor. Legend, you are a millionaire mentor and you've written the book Money Grows on Trees. Welcome here. Hello.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here. Love it. Let's go. I'm excited. Thanks for having me on the show.
I have to tell you, I didn't realize this, but you're my first male guest speaker.
Ever.
That's
amazing.
Yeah.
All right. I'm privileged. I'm honored.
You're going to love this. And I
like
just
a fox in the hen house. I'm here. I'm in. This is cool. Great. That's exciting.
I think where I wanted to go with this is really share your story, how you began. And I think money is such a big conversation lately, especially for women. You know, there either has been a fear of talking about money or wanting money or knowing money is possible. And I guess this is really more what you're here to share. So how did you get into doing what you're doing, Legend?
Yeah. Good question. And we'll talk about the how men and women are with money as we go through this episode. But it's funny, isn't it? Like when I was younger, I mean, I didn't really know what I wanted to be when I grew up. like I think everyone. And so I went through the traditional route of, because this is back before YouTube and e-commerce and all that sort of stuff. This is back in the 90s, late 90s, 2000, I finished school. And the internet wasn't what it is today. So the opportunities weren't there to just go out and start a business online. Like if that was available, flipping heck, I would have been in business in 2 seconds. So I went into university and did a few degrees, became a lawyer, did business there, didn't learn anything about business or money at university. Did a couple of corporate finance subjects, but it really wasn't practical, so to speak. Anyway, come out of there, go get a job in the Middle East in project management. And what actually happened was when I started earning money, I guess the background of it is that when I was at school in grade 11, my English teacher, he said, hey, you need to go read these 2 books, right? So I actually learned a little bit about money at school. And the books were Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki and The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clayson. So I went and read those books. And that taught me some basics, but I didn't have any money because I was in school. So I was like, I mean, I would wash cars and I'd do different jobs and I'd try and make money, but I wasn't really earning until I ended up, having a full-time gig and full-time job, 9 to 5. And I remember when I was starting out, I actually moved into an apartment that was way out of my budget. And I was like, and I started racking up credit card debt. And I was like, oh crap, this is not good. This is not what I learned. So I quickly got in front of that and started budgeting. I rented a Toyota Yaris instead of buying a nice car. I flatted with my roommates. We rented out every part of our room. I pretty well did, I cut my costs drastically as I was making money with the objective of being able to save. And from what I'd learned, when you create savings, it's not just to spend. And I think that's what happened to people that I grew up with and I was working with. They just saved to spend. They were like, I'm saving for a holiday. I'm saving for a car. I'm saving for this. I'm like, they say, what are you saving for? I'm like, I'm saving to invest into assets so I can get the flipping heck out of this job. Like I wanted an escape plan. I hate 9 to 5 work. I couldn't stand it. I was like allergic. I was just psychologically unemployable in that space because I'm entrepreneurial. So my objective about investing was actually to get out of work. That's why I looked into it, which is interesting. And I thought everyone wanted to do that, but how sorely mistaken I was. I mean, I was reading investing books in my early 20s to invest into shares to get the heck out of work. And I guess no one else was. So I started rigorously training around financial education. And I did one of the hardest qualifications in finance up to the 3rd level in the Chartered Financial Analyst exams, which are the hardest exams on Wall Street to pass.
Wow.
And I just threw myself at it because I knew that it was an area that I was wanting to master and I was weak at, and I wanted to be the best at it because it was really important. Money was really important. It seemed to make the world go round. So I'm like, why wouldn't you want to get good at that? And what I didn't realize was no one else had that attitude. And so what happened to me as I kind of moved into property investment planning and property marketing as a traditional business, I ended up starting a network marketing business on the side, built that to over 7 figures. And I applied all these techniques about saving and investing on that journey. And we eclipsed, $1 million share portfolio in my 30s, wow, which allowed us to have passive income and I have no debt. And it's just really good quality money management, I think, without I haven't even bought a house. It's just I have cash flow and no debt. And I guess what led me into writing my book, Money Grows on Trees, and my recent book, Money Buys Happiness, is I realized when I was building my network marketing business that people had no flipping idea about money. Like, it was actually shocking to me that the basics of underspend your income, I actually had to tell someone that. Like, that to me is such common sense. I can't believe people don't do that. But then as I kind of understood it, it's just that we all have different backgrounds. We all have our minds think differently. So what compelled me to write the book was I needed to start teaching people about money. So I wrote the books and started my podcast, and kind of blew up from there.
I love that you spoke about everyone has different backgrounds, and I'm bringing this up because I feel it'll be relatable, but I had no idea about money because my dad was a gambling addict. So for us, we witnessed money coming in a lot and going. And I took that into my life growing up without realizing, well, one, I had to have multiple jobs. Money was hard to get and money didn't grow on trees. That's what it was said. And I just had this unconscious agreement that I was never going to hold money because it's what I witnessed. And do you find, based on, hearing something like this is common in a lot of people's lives?
Yeah, because you're a byproduct of your environment. So like, environment's way stronger than willpower. So if you grow up in a household or a group of friends where money is disrespected, you will probably disrespect it, because you will only grow up. And I think all of us, to an extent, grow up a little bit with watching Disney cartoons and these types of shows and movies where the villain is always rich. So
Yes.
our money programs that kind of program into us at a young age. So all of a sudden we think, oh, rich people are bad. Money's the root of all evil. It's hard to get. And we get addicted sometimes too, because of how we grow up, that I'm an Aussie battler. So I must battle to stay afloat, because me having more money is, I don't know, it's not good, which is ridiculous. I mean, like, money's just a function of time. So like, why on earth would you want to not have unlimited time?
Wow. And you even said this thing at the event, the Bible talks about money 2,000 times.
Yeah,
So
not too many people know that.
Yeah. And that was something that held on to me. And I'm like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. I mean, I don't know how many of your audience are, Christian or whatever, and you don't even have to be religious, but it's fascinating, because if you actually delve in deeper to that topic, in the Bible, there's teachings in the Old Testament, New Testament, of actually it's like the story of the three tenants. It's take money and multiply it.
Wow.
It's there.
It's all there.
Yeah. The mustard seed story, start out with something small, grow a big tree. Like, it's all there. It's biblical. There's stuff around money and the principles and laws that govern money and capitalism and so forth have been around for thousands of years. It's just that no one learns them.
No, that's the thing. And I'm so fascinated into this. I'm not saying this is new at all, because it's always been there, as you said. But what do you feel has changed that people are starting to now see investing is important, learning to love money is important, having a new relationship with money is important, changing a mindset around money is important? Like, where did this all start to kind of, I guess, be seen?
Well, I think it started to be seen more prolifically once social media became prevalent, because we're actually getting a glimpse into other people's lives outside our environment we grow up in. So we get to jump on social media like this and be around people who have mastered their money. So I guess the accessibility to real money teaching is now available, just like on this podcast or in a book. We have so much access to information now because of the internet, that I think it's become more accessible. And that's why it's becoming like something that everyone can achieve. And I think also because of the way the world's developed, especially in the Western economies, we are very lucky, because we're living 6 times better than what John D. Rockefeller did in the early 1900s. He was the richest guy in the world, equivalent to 600 billion in today's dollars. He just basically made oil. He owned all the oil in the world, and we live 6 times better than him. Does that make sense? 6 times better than the richest guy in the world, only 100 years later. So we're all very lucky that capitalism has actually allowed us to live these fruitful lives. And I think that money, particularly in Australia, people earn a ton of flipping money. Tons. We're like the wealthiest country in the world at the moment. And so I think people are, they see other people living certain lives that they want, and they do realize somehow that money's got to do with that. And they kind of get curious and they lean into it and say, well, how do I achieve that? Because I don't really want to be working in this job forever. I guess it just becomes, I don't know, they get curious.
You said something before about how you don't own a house, and that makes me feel so much better, because it was something, it still is a big goal of mine to buy my first property, you know, investing and all that kind of stuff. But why do you feel that's not as important anymore?
Well, I mean,
is it?
yeah, look, I think it is. I mean, look, I think if you can buy a house and it doesn't burden you financially, it makes a lot of sense, right? The problem is that house ownership has progressively become more burdensome. And it's because the interest rates have fallen from 17% down to 0 effectively in the last 40 years or 30, yeah, probably since 1990, so 30 years. And when that happens and interest rates fall, values of assets go up. And so what's happened is we've effectively been in the biggest real estate rise in values in 30 years. Back in the 80s and 90s, when our parents were buying houses, if they were on 40,000 a year income, houses were like 60 grand, which to me, that makes absolute sense. Of course you would buy a house. But when your income is $80,000 a year, which is roughly the average income here in Australia, 80 or 90,000, and a house is 1.5 million, that's a different story. Because what you have to actually go and do then is borrow like $1.3 million of debt to go and live in your own house. Now, that's okay now because interest rates are really low, but as they rise, that becomes quite a burden to carry. And again, some can do it, some can't. But what I've seen young people do, and why I'm not a massive advocate of just rushing out and buying a house, is I've seen them box themselves in with debt and give themselves the golden handcuff and force themselves into doing a job that they hate because they have to pay a mortgage. And where that's becomes a problem is in your 20s and 30s, it's your time to take risk. It's your time to build a business. It's your time to create cash. And if you just go in with mum and dad's help and get them as guarantor and put a small deposit and you've got this massive house, I don't know, I guess it just limits your creativity as someone who can really build something great and do what you love. And I think that it's a happiness trap, or I don't know, I guess that's what I've seen. And I think also I was talking to someone yesterday, I got clients and I was mentoring this client. What was happening? I'm not going to talk about that particular conversation in detail, but it was around this renovation thing. And I was telling her, I said, listen, I've never actually met anyone who's renovating who's happy. No one in my life, ever. I never met a happy renovator. And what I think happens to people if you own a house, the other thing that happens is psychological biases start to take over. And you'll go, oh, we need to do the kitchen up. We need to put a pool in. Right? I've spoken to people on calls before and they say, Lloyd, I want to live in Bali. I want a free life. I'm like, great. Where are you at? They go, well, we just spent $50,000 on a pool. I'm like, why? What the fuck? Are you going to do? You got to take after-tax dollars, which is 50 or 75 grand, put a pool in, and you don't get any tax deductions for it because it's your principal place of residence. And you get no cash flow from it. But you want to live in Bali? You're playing the wrong games. And so I think what happens to people when they own houses is they get really emotionally tied to it and it sucks all their money away from them.
And then it stops
that for people.
Stops them from, as you said, taking risks, enjoying your life now, and looking at other avenues of feeling like you have a rich life and living rich in life.
I mean, happiness is the ultimate, right? So I think time and a place for a house. I wouldn't encourage people to be in a rush. That's all. Just right timing is very important because you don't even know where you want to live. You don't know where the kids are going to go to school. You don't know, you don't know what you like. So I would say renting for a while to figure that out is not a bad thing. We've been renting for my whole life.
Talk to me about, your beautiful wife, Alicia, and your dynamics when you guys began, because I think, again, relevant to everyone listening, and I've only just, I'm 6 months into a relationship, and so I'm only learning new things. But when you set goals together when it comes to the future, your life investing? Like how, from a woman's perspective, I'll be honest, I had no idea about investing. Like Jordan, he's the logical, I'm the dreamer. I'm like, oh, I want to travel and do all these things. I want to build my business. I'll put money into it, but I don't think about the logic side of things. So you and Alicia probably have an amazing structure or strategy. I don't know.
Look, men think differently to women. We're that's why more men are drawn into engineering as jobs, because our brains just work differently like that. We're very like compartmentalized thinkers, right? And very logical. Women are more like feeling thinkers and more led by their intuition, and like we're just different. And I think it's what makes women great, and what makes men great is that those differences. So when it comes to money, men typically are more risk takers, generally.
Really?
They have a high value for freedom.
Yeah.
Because masculine energy, the highest value is when they're free, right?
Yeah.
Women, the highest value in their feminine energy is security and safety. And so when you're looking at investing, typically women will want to be secure and safe, which is why they gravitate to a house, even if it's perceived safety instead of real safety in terms of debt. They'll always want a house, a nest. That's just instinctually in them. Whereas a guy will be like, oh, let's go and flip and, bet the house on flipping black at the casino, because they want to make a ton of money because they want freedom. And so we're driven by these two different energy systems we have, or values that we have. But with Alicia, I think that the most important thing in a partner when it comes to your money is similar values. And so if you have similar values of, well, like with Alicia, we're different. Like I'm a hoarder and she's a spender. She gets joy from spending money. I get joy from saving and investing money. It's just how we're built. And I talk about that in my book, Money Grows on Trees, the personality, the money archetypes. So you can decide which one you are. So we're complete opposites. But what's great about her as a spender, she's a bargain hunter. So she's actually very good at finding value, and which is great because I love finding value too. And I think we're just being self-aware of each other's personality types when it comes to money is important. But every month I'll sit down, I did it yesterday, and I actually take I do an audit of our spending each month. Just sit down, I pay the credit card and I do that. And I look at it and I just ask her, hey, what do you think this is? What's this? And we just chat about it. And if we're over, I'm like, shivers, we need to tighten the belt here this month, brings it back in. Or, hey, let's go out for an awesome lunch together and celebrate this and this, because we have, it's just a running conversation about money. But when it comes to the investing side, which I'm really so fortunate that she does, is she just allows me to, she trusts me enough to take the money and invest it into assets for us that it's going to help us in the future. You know what I mean? So, and she's not like flipping pedantic about owning a house, because I think by living with me and seeing what that's done to people, that really, she's not in a rush to do that either. You know what I mean?
That's beautiful, because that's where, just hearing what you've just explained, so just to give you context, Jordan is the one who likes to hoard money. I like to spend, but I feel in terms of taking risks, that's me, where he likes to be secure and safe. So he wants to look at getting a house and all that kind of stuff. I'm the type of person that's like, well, shouldn't we build our business and put money into that from an investment point of view? Yeah. So I just love that, the dynamic where there's contrast and you two are opposite. You've kind of found what works for both of you guys to make your future grow and invest together. And I love that.
Well, Alicia, her highest values are family and happy. Like she would be happy if there's no money or money. It doesn't make a difference. And I think that's what you want in a partner too. Like you don't want a partner just to be with you because you have money or not. It's just, it doesn't matter. Like she'd sleep under a bridge with me if we didn't have money. And that's important too. So I guess that's, whereas I've got a high value for having a substantial amount of wealth to be able to have freedom. Again, it's my freedom gene that's driving it. It's not a greed thing. It's like, I don't want to be in a position where I have no choices and options. That's all. I've been in that situation before, no choice, no options. And I don't want to be there again. It's not a good place to be. So
tell me about when it comes to beginning, let's say we come into your container and you're there to mentor us. It would be so hard to put a 3-step process of what you want to do to achieve X, Y, and Z in investing. But what would be the first thing for anyone listening on what it is they need to either do or start thinking about in order to start looking at investing or doing
Yeah.
something, or coming into your container and working with you?
It's actually really easy. It's actually not a 3-step, but it's a 5-step. And it's called the 5 steps. I mean, I talk about it in my second book, this Money Buys Happiness book here. And it's this 5-step framework that I followed, and that's all I teach, right? So in the container, I have this happening because I had a call yesterday with it, but I have this workbook they go through, and it literally is placing down the 5 steps, which is mindset, mentorship, manage money, multiply your money, and go make more money. That's it. It's just 5 things. And so when you go through that, the first thing to understand is mindset. Like, what type of mindset do I have to be? Like, who do I have to become to be wealthy? Not what do I have to have? So it's just about those basics, like have the right attitude, show up, commit, finish what you start, identify limiting beliefs, overcome those, rewire your mindset, affirmation. Like, we go through all that mindset stuff. And as you move through that, you have to be coachable and look for mentors to accelerate your success. But the final 3 steps, the very first one becomes, how do you manage your money? And
which
when
is where people go wrong.
Well, because they think that money is managed, but the reality is it's titled that, but we really manage ourselves and our behavior. You can't manage money. You can manage your behavior. So the whole idea of that step of manage money is underspend what you earn by changing your behaviors and your spending patterns, and you'll have some cash, spare cash. That's the first step to investing. You've got to have some bloody savings. You've got to have some flipping cash. People are like, oh, Lloyd, I want to invest. I'm like, how much cash do you have? They go, oh, $100. I'm like, that's okay. You can start doing that with micro investing, but we need to help you to make more, to earn income, underspend it, and create some savings. Not to go spend, but to actually invest. So the first step is get money. So manage it and have some, right? You'll be shocked as to how many people make a ton of money, but spend it all. So once they do that, and then they can learn that by putting some simple things in place, right? Like going through an audit, which we do. It's pretty simple to do that. I had a lady, she saved like $8,000 in a year just doing those simple steps. The next step, once you've got the money, is where do you put it? Because a lot of people only understand putting it in their mortgage or buying a property. But the reality is with technology is you can actually go and start buying shares today or index funds today from your phone. So setting that up actually takes 15 minutes, and to actually buy your shares takes about one minute, and you're done. And I think what shocks people the most about the investing experience is the simplicity and ease and accessibility of it, and how simple and easy it is to understand. Yeah, it blows them away. I think that they think that's going to be the most complicated part, but it actually becomes the simplest and easiest. And once they do it, it's so funny when they go, what do I do now? I'm like, no, you're done. It's like, what do you mean? I'm like, just repeat the basics and now until you're really rich. They go, no, surely it's more difficult than that. I'm like, no, it's basics. It's the same as, eat less than you can eat less than you consume in calories. Go to the gym each day, and you'll be buff for the rest of your life. Like, it's not difficult. What is hard is the behavioral side of it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's challenging, because once you invest, it's about actually being patient and sticking with it. And most people go, okay, I've invested, and they go, oh, but now my friend wants me to do this, and I'll take the money. They get taken off track. The 5th step that I teach and talk about is once they understand savings and start investing, the number one problem people face after that is, I don't have enough. I want more money. I've got the system figured out. I want to go and scale my wealth. How do I make more money, Lloyd? I'm like, well, you need a side hustle. You need a business. You need to do something besides your 9-to-5 job for $80K a year. You need to go and develop $20,000 a year. You either go and do pet walking, pet sitting, you go do Uber, you do whatever. You do network marketing, you do something to go and give yourself a pay rise. Because once you have that extra money, you only need an extra $500 a week to become a millionaire in 18 years. That's it.
That's fucking amazing. You know what? It's funny you say all this because, as you said, people don't realize how simple it is. But when people don't know something, they avoid to do or learn about it. But you've just basically, in 5 steps, you've explained the whole thing. And
well, it's simple when you have mentorship to show you, because the things I learned took me 14 years. So when it looks simple, it's because someone else has done the work over time and made all the mistakes and learnings and made it very simple. Right. So it's like, if I came to you and said, hey, can you teach me how to get my body in shape? You're like, yeah, you just do this, this, and this. You're like, oh, that's really simple. You're like, yeah, but it flipping took me ages to work it out. And I'm giving you those simple steps. So I think that's why I'm such a big proponent of mentorship, and why I have mentors, because it accelerates my success.
in every episode that I've had, there's always been a conversation around investing, but not just about money, but for yourself to obviously grow and be around the people you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
To hear that you have mentors yourself is huge. I think you brought up 3 of them in the Dream Fest. And
Yeah.
I want to bring this up because I need everyone to remember and listen that if you want to make money, you want to have wealth, you want to invest, you need to also look at all the things that you're doing in your life and who you're surrounded by.
Totally. Well, I mean, like, I had a mentor before I walked into that stage on last Saturday. Like, there's a mentor for most important things in your life. So like, if you are in business, you have a business mentor. If you are wanting to invest, you have some sort of, mentor that teaches you that. And I mean, I've followed Warren Buffett for a long time, and he's my main mentor. He doesn't know that, but I've had mentors to show me things and teach me things. And it's changed my mindset, and it makes you play bigger. But there are mentors, like I had a mentor of my dad in business, in sales, mentors even in my 9 to 5 when I was in there, I had a mentor that was teaching me things. So I think one of the most important things is find someone that has what you want, that you align with, that you like, and you learn from them. And there's 2 ways to do it. I mean, some of my mentors I think about who have helped me in my business and life is you either have to earn your way to them or you pay them. So because you want to get in proximity, that's the most important thing. So it's like here's a good example. We're chatting about investing and so on, and I can teach you lots about that. But you happen to go to this Dreamfest event, pay some money, fly there, sit in the front row. You paid for the VIP. I came along. I borrowed your phone. I did some stuff together. We connected. You're on the boat the next day. You said, let's jump on a podcast. Now we're in proximity. So you've paid something. You've earned something. You've reached, like, you've brought yourself in close proximity. And that's important. So the higher the mentor, you if you can't bring yourself into proximity, you buy your way there. And I mean, Alex Hormozi, he bought his proximity to Grant Cardone for like 50 grand. So we all can pay for mentorship, pay for proximity, or we can earn our proximity. And usually it's a combination of both, because mentors, even if you're paying 50K, they don't want to deal with you if you're
you can swear.
Yeah, like they want to work with someone who's really coachable, committed, easy to work with. So you kind of have to, I guess, earn it and pay for it. And you want to, because you get a ton of success out of it. It's a great investment.
Well, that's it. And I think a lot of people, I have to just do this now because it keeps going off, like my phone's buzzing and I'm not used to all these noises in the background. Money is a form of energy, and anything that you energetically exchange, very much like what you've just said, like you're on my podcast, we've had this beautiful connection. It's been through an energetic connection and investing in utilizing, really seeing the value of, like, when money goes into something important, it's going to come back. And I'm sure you've seen that in multiple occasions, and even just witnessing like how the transformation of energy happens. And I think Napoleon Hill talks a lot about that. And I don't know if that's someone you read his books or if it's a little bit.
I mean, I think most people would have read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, but the thing with money is, and investing is this, like what you just touched on, is every action where we are deploying money or our time and energy is an investment. And I think people go to me like, this is what happens. They go, Lloyd, I want to learn how to invest. I'm like, okay, what are you doing with your money now? They go, it's in my savings account. I'm like, oh, you're already investing it, actually. They go, what do you mean I'm investing it? It's in my savings account. No. You're actually lending it to the bank. You've bought a bond. You actually have bought a financial instrument in the fact that you've lent it to the bank. They're paying you 2% return for that financial instrument, your investment, and they're lending it out at 5%. So you've made an investment. It's just really shit. So I think we have to understand, if you go and buy a new pair of Nike shoes, that's an investment. You've either invested in your social status going up, or you've invested in actually covering your shoes to get better performance in your training, but you've actually taken your money and invested it in something, and you're expecting a return. Now, there's either great things you invest in, like if you take your money and gamble it, that's a crap investment. Yeah. If you go and buy like drugs, that's a poor investment. You're still investing. It's just a really crappy investment. So you can choose. You invested in good things, or you've invested in really ineffective things. But every activity of deploying money today that you make is an investment.
I love that. And every decision you make not to do anything is still an investment in
totally.
Live a life.
Oh, 100%. I mean, there's the cost of, I spoke about the events, the cost of delay, because people say, oh, I don't know if I'm going to let's talk about mentorship, right? If I hadn't have done certain mentorship in the past, there's a cost of that to me. If I don't do the mentorship, yes, it costs money to do it, but it all costs money not to do it. And I don't think people understand the cost of not investing in yourself. So like, if I hadn't have invested in myself over the years, what would be the cost of that? I mean, over the next 30 years, it hopefully translates to be like, it would have been a $30 million cost. I don't want to pay those costs. That's a very hefty fine to pay for your inaction. And I think that's what happens. People don't understand the compound effect.
Yeah.
It works both ways. So if you don't eat well, you compound outwards in your waste. And if you do eat well, you compound back inwards. Same as success. If you don't actually invest in yourself, it's going to cost you later down the road and you're going to regret it. And I think those are the types of decisions people need to get good at. What is worthwhile investing in now? What's going to be my return on investment later?
I had this thing come up for me not long ago because I work really well under pressure, and it's almost like I look for things to use as leverage points, like kind of like, okay, my back is against a wall. I'm going to do, let's say I invest into doing your mentorship. I know when I put that into, a leverage point, it's going to make me work harder. But I find that what people have done now, and I don't know if it's just like they get complacent or they feel comfortable being safe, but COVID taught a lot in people where they realized something was taken away from them. So they started to take action and they started to take risks. But the minute now life is, back to normal, and it's not like I've got a gun here holding to you, Lloyd, you've got to make this much money, otherwise you're going to die. People then don't make these types of not rational, but risks taking and leverage points and utilize those moments.
Yeah.
I feel like it's happening so much now.
Yeah, very good point you bring up there, actually. That's what we saw. It was fascinating to watch. So like what happened was in COVID, people, like you said, had their incomes taken away, their freedom taken away. And what actually happened was the pain was so great upon them that it created urgency in their activity. Yeah. And so when they did that, like, okay, like, we teach people how to run a side hustle. We help them build a network marketing side hustle, right? And so they came to me and said, Lloyd, I'm ready to start now. I'm like, oh, you want to start now? So you want to start building the ark now while it's raining? Really? Wouldn't it have been better to start 3 years ago when you saw me and you spoke to me about it? So what's happening to people is this: they're waiting until the pain becomes so great that they go. And that's how we go to the dentist, right? Pain gets so you're like, oh my God, I need to go now. So it compels you. The pain of COVID was so great, it compelled him to get into action. The problem is, it's too late to build the ark by the time the rains are coming. It really is, because it takes time and patience to build wealth, and you can't do it quickly. So what happened in COVID when people tried to do it fast is they started trading stocks, and they tried to turn an investment activity into an income activity. And that's where, so many people lost money. They lost money in crypto. They lost money in stocks. They lost money. I can't begin to know how much money people lost trying to get fast money, right? Because the pain was so great and they wanted to get out of it. But the reality is you should always look to build a second income exactly when you don't need it. That's what we always do. Like, we always try and build another income when we don't need it.
Yeah. And that's going back to people work from a place of pain. It's almost like people need to work from a place of pleasure to instill the belief to take action. And then the results keep coming.
Yeah. But most people build from desperation because that's how we're wired, pain to pleasure. But the reality is, you're right, you hit it on the head. You have to build from inspiration. And that's why with investing, you take your money and you invest it into assets. See, money doesn't actually grow. I don't know if people know that watching this, or listening to this, but money doesn't actually grow. That's actually wrong. Money goes down in value.
Yeah.
Inflation. What actually grows are assets. So real estate assets and business assets like stocks or private businesses, right? They're the two best assets. So what you got to do with your money is you got to deploy it into assets. You got to buy real estate, you got to buy stocks. Now, most people can't afford real estate, so they go buy stocks. So if you do that, you've also got to be patient and build it up over time, because $1 million portfolio doesn't just appear. It takes discipline, consistency, effort, same as a good body. That's why when I see someone with a good body, I kind of want to be like, it makes me feel better to be in business with them, because they understand the basic concepts of living a good life, which is discipline, consistency, showing up. If I see someone who's really out of shape, truthfully, I actually don't want to do business with them.
I just put that on my Instagram. I reflected on a new did bodybuilding too. an athlete mindset is the same as a business mindset: perseverance, discipline, routine, habits, and all those things included, right?
Yep.
And it's beautiful that you said this. People want the fast, quick fixes in money, but it's the long game. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of, like, when I was doing bodybuilding, when I was like running my like the 100-kilometer ultra, and I don't know, anything I guess that I've done, sitting those CFA exams, it was always about just consistently showing up and getting better bit by bit by bit. It was never, let's go get quick results. I mean, it just doesn't last, especially with money. Like, if you actually get fast results in money, it's worse, because it's like it triggers that gambling addiction.
It happened to me.
You did?
Well, I self-sabotaged because I grew so quickly, and I wasn't, one, used to the growth. Two, I didn't believe I was good enough, and I nearly lost it all and self-sabotaged it. And it was, again, the behavioral thing, and I've reflected and learned from that. So I get it.
Yeah. And you have to go through that to learn it. Like, no one just knows everything when they're born. You have to go through mistakes to learn things. And so you learned it, thankfully. But a lot of people, one of the worst things that can happen to someone is they can earn money in a business and earn it very fast because of the circumstances and timing of it all. But they think it's them and their skills. Quite often it's actually just a rising tide. And like, I'm pretty sure I think about that with most people in Australia. We think we're all amazing, but we actually are on the byproduct of a growth in China. So all of our real estate values and our incomes here in Australia is a direct result of the Chinese economy growing and us exporting minerals like that. We're a result of that. We're just in a high tide here in the same boat. So we all think we're amazing, but our economy is on fire. It's crushing it at the moment. So we're all like a byproduct of that. So I think that people don't realize that. And what happens is when they get fast money, they make $1 million, whatever it is, and they take it for granted and then make it quick, it just reinforces the same behavior again. So they try and repeat what they did. Problem is, they didn't know how they did it. They think they do.
Yeah.
But they actually don't. So I often find, if I'm teaching someone business and it's taking them time, it's effort, it's grit, it's painful, it's hard, I find that they stick around. But the ones that get it easy, they go and look for easy money elsewhere, and they keep bouncing around looking for the easy, fast money. And if they get it, they also don't have gratitude for it, and they spend it, and they don't know what to do with it.
Do you think crypto is something people should put money into, or is there?
Never. No, not at all. Not at all. No, I don't. I don't think at all. I mean, and I don't say that because I'm like, how can I say this? I don't just vehemently hate an asset because it's an asset and everyone else loves it. I'm not trying to be a pain in the ass or a contrarian. But if you understand the time value of money and you understand some basic mathematic formulas, you can actually take future cash flows from an asset in the future and discount them back to a current value today and actually work out how much those cash flows are worth in a monetary number. And if you know that calculation, you know that cryptocurrencies don't produce cash flows.
It's a gamble, basically.
Yes, which means you can't value it, which means you don't know if you're getting a good deal or not, which you don't know if it's worth 30K, 5K, 3K, you can't value it. So I don't buy things that I can't value. I just don't, because I don't know if I'm getting a good deal. So why would you buy anything if you didn't know you're getting a good deal, right? So that's one of the fundamental things that I teach, is how to value things so that you know, well, okay, so two things. Number one, is it in my circle of competence? Do I understand it? And I was on call with my mentorship students yesterday, and I said, hey, can someone explain cryptocurrency to me in one sentence? No one could do it, right? Because it's not simple and simple scales. So when it comes to your wealth, simplicity is important. So I steer clear of things that I don't understand. I just don't even play there. And I think too many people are playing in areas that they don't understand because they're looking for the fast buck. And that's what happened in crypto. And they don't know what it's worth because there's no cash flow. So it's important when you're investing to invest for cash flow, buy something that's undervalued. So buy something for less than it's worth if you can. That's how you make money in investing. And if you've got cash flows, at least it's going to put you on a path to getting passive income where you can free up your time. But if an investment doesn't do those things, why would you buy?
Yeah, you're right. I think people are just looking, as you said, the easy way out, or what's promoted in the media, and then they go with whatever everyone else is doing. But as you said, it's a long game.
Yeah, 100%. And crypto is not a game that is worthwhile getting good at. It's just not. So we only have X amount of years on Earth. I want to get good at games that are like legacy games. And I want to get good at games that are going to be around a long time. I want to get good at games that give me freedom and that are predictable. And, you know, that's the games I want to get good at. I don't want to be playing the wrong game and get good at the wrong game.
You mentioned freedom, and I just want to know, when do you know you're free?
When your passive income from your assets, debt-free assets, pay your general living expenses for you, you're free.
So leading to that, are you nearly there?
Well, we could be if we wanted to be. Like the way our incomes work is we have multiple incomes. They come in, they definitely cover our expenses. So we're there. But my assets, like I have big goals of what I want my expenses to be. So I want to have more expenses. I do. I want to have, I mean, I don't have to, like our expenses are fairly low. So our assets, put them together, yeah, it probably covers it. So I'm free. But you get to that point, and some people say to me, Lloyd, why don't you just live off your assets, live in Bali? I'm like, well, I know that makes sense when you're living a life you don't like in a job you hate, and I get all that. But when you actually enjoy what you do and you have made it to that first level of financial independence where your passive income is covering your expenses, you don't want to just stay there. It's the same as like why I don't go and sit on the beach all day. Like it gets to a point where you go, well, I've kind of conquered that. That was a challenge. Now what's the next step? And I think if you're not in growth, you're in death. And so I want to keep, what else can we discover? What can we do here? Because when you do that and you play those games of like, I would love to spend 10 million a year and have 10 million a year in passive income. If I play that game, who do I have to become? What sort of growth do I need to go through? What sort of courage do I need to have? What sort of value do I need to give the world? What sort of like, how do I have to skill up? And I love that journey. That's the beauty of making money. It makes you happy because there's progress and fulfillment. And I think too many people are just working for money and they're not working for like wealth, because wealth forces you to level up because you can't do it on a wage. I mean, you can develop your assets and have passive income of like 60, 70 grand. You can do it that way. But why? You know what I mean? Like, why would you walk safely towards certain death? I think the beauty of wealth is that if you really have this big goal of being wealthy, it's a wonderful journey and adventure to go on in life because you meet good people, you become a better person, you give value to the world, you have good stories to tell.
What's next then for you? I mean, like if I was to really, because this is just tying in so beautifully, like I love this, but what's the next goal for you?
I mean, I think I have a big goal to build a big financial education business around the world and really and help people practically implement things about money they wish they'd learned in school and do it in a big way, So I think about how many people can we impact financially through our books, through our podcasts, through our YouTube that we just launched, through just giving people practical education around money and helping people with side hustles if they want to earn extra money, like physically, practically helping people earn money and invest money well so they don't have to get rich twice. And that is just like a fun mission to be on. I love doing it. I love seeing their results. I love to teach it. And I want to do that on a bigger scale. So that's the mission, to get on a global scale of being that teacher, because one day Robert Kiyosaki and all those guys are going to die. Like, who's going to be the next generation of mentors to mentor the next generation for better money management? So that's the goal, to build something great, fun, big, bold, that takes courage. And I'm interested in that. Where that goes from a monetary standpoint, I have no idea, because you couldn't have told me I'd be here doing this now. I don't know. I mean, there's people out there that, some of my friends I even hang out with, they're probably going to make, they could become a billionaire. I mean, who knows? But it's not, I don't think it becomes about how much money you make. It's just a nice measure of how much value you're probably giving the world. So I think that's probably the journey I want to go on. Like, I'd love to sell, I don't know, 1 million books.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Write another one.
Yeah, I mean, but 1 million subscribers on YouTube, 1 million books. I mean, if you're doing those types of things and that's the measure, I think it's pretty obvious you're going to have some level of success, because it means you're making an impact in the world because people are following that and getting results from that. I think they're the types of things that I look at. Again, yeah, $100 million share portfolio would be fun, but I don't think I need that to necessarily be happy or content or well off. I mean, I think at some point the money kind of loses some utility.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't think I'd be happier in a bigger house.
Yeah. I have to just say, I'm really grateful for you saying that, because it comes back to value. Because while you just said you want to make an impact, you want to help others, that's what you're here for, to serve, to inspire. And through that, your wealth grows. The money is a byproduct. And at the end of the day, when the wealth is your goal, you're leveling up to a whole new level. And it's just beautiful to hear that while, yes, money we all want, there's more to life than just that.
Yeah, totally. And look, do you know Helen Keller? Have you heard of her before? She has this awesome quote that I love, and I just love it. And I think about it a lot. And she says, life is a daring adventure or it's nothing at all.
Yeah, wow.
And I think that going on this wealth journey around business, entrepreneurship, investing, and really taking those risks is that it's an adventure. It's a daring adventure. You know what I mean? So I want to go on that, and I want people to go on that. I mean, why the heck would you just play it safe?
Yes.
Make money in a job that you don't even like that much, hang around people that really aren't inspiring you, just to pass away.
Because we all have an expiry date, right?
Well, yeah, and I mean, there's joys of life that aren't just about, you know, business and leveling up. I mean, there's, you know, having baby, like there's wonderful things to experience in life, but I guess it takes a special person to go, well, what am I capable of? And I think that for us, and the people probably even watching this, you go, you know, will I die with potential still in me? And I guess it's the pain of regrets later that I feel I will have, and I don't want to have those regrets. You know, I don't want to look back and go, oh, could have done more, could have gone bigger, could have taken more risk. You know, there's 3 things that people regret on their deathbed. And that is, number 1, I spent too much time at the office. Number 2, I wish I had spent more time with family. And the third one's interesting. It's, I wish I had taken more risks.
Yeah, I bring that up quite a lot. And the fact that you mentioned taking big leaps, like, I think that's what a lot of people forget when they live their day-to-day life, like kind of being upset or sad or wanting more. It's like, you get to choose what you want to do. You get to choose the life you want to live. And the more you can, dive into uncertainty, while we do want the certainty with investing and whatnot, but the more you can just take leaps of faith and live the life that you want, like, fuck, just do it.
I think there's a bigger risk in not having sensible investments to give you cash flow, because the risk is you have no choices then. Yeah. And that's a great risk. If you have no options or choice in your life, that's a drastic risk to take. And that's how I look at risk. I don't look at risk of like, you know, how everyone else looks at it. I look at it like it would be very risky to live a small life. Because end of the day, like people are so frightened of their own shadow, but what they don't realize is in 3 generations, they'll be forgotten.
Yeah.
Forgotten. Like, tell me, do you know your great-great-grandparents?
No.
Gone. Right? So people are like, oh, but what if, who gives a shit? Go do your life and play big and do things that scare you, because you'll level up, you'll develop self-esteem, and in a couple of generations, no one can remember you anyway. Like, who cares? I think that is what will help liberate people. Right? So, you know, I think build your assets, invest in yourself, get cash flow purely for the point of doing what you want to do with your life and living the life you want to live, and not having to actually live a life you don't want to live because you have no control over your money.
Lloyd, I always end, and I don't want it to end because this is so amazing, but I always end with this question, and that is, what does slay, because this is a female podcast and you being the first male, so it's nice to hear your intake. But what does slay mean to you?
Slay. slay. Like smash, like slay, completely dominate your goals, slay your goals, I guess, right? So completely dominate.
Yeah, you got it right.
Yeah, that's what slay means, unless you're talking about Santa on the 25th, that's a different meaning. But
SLAY, like
slay. Yeah, slay it. Slay the dragons. To save the princess.
Legend, where can everyone find you? I'm going to obviously have everything in the description box, but please share everything so everyone can find more about you or want to work with you or get mentored by you, buy your books.
Yeah, so the easiest way to find me is my handle on Instagram at Lloyd James Ross. There are like 50 gazillion fake accounts going around of me right now. So
yeah, I was going to tell you that. Sorry.
Yeah, there's gazillions. You'll see mine. It says at the top of my feed, only account Lloyd James Ross. If there's if there's anything else in that handle, it ain't me. But if you can find me there, that's the easiest way to find me. And in my link, you'll find my podcast, my books, my Telegram channel that's free, my Facebook group that's free. I think, yeah, just begin the conversation relationship with me in one of those channels, and my YouTube's there, and start taking some simple steps to start learning this money game. I'd love you to do that. That'd be awesome. So that's where you can find me.
Guys, I promise you, he is an absolute legend, so kind and so generous. Thank you so much for being here. My first male guest.
Yeah, I'm so thrilled that I'm the first dude. Win for the guys. Well done. That's awesome. Thanks for having me on. I really, really appreciate it. I'm honored to be on. And of course, it's been awesome. So thanks for the questions and thanks for having me on. See you soon.
Darling. Bye.